If you're unable to achieve a perfect nozzle check after all of this, contact your printer supplier, whose service technician may be able to clear your print head by gently syringing a mild solvent through the inkways, or partial immersion in an ultrasonic cleaner, or at the very worst, a complete replacement of the ink head with a brand new head, as such as we've shown you. Now, the last few procedures are likely to be quite costly in labour and materials, so I'd encourage you, those of you with a nozzle check that is improving, to persevere. Be prepared to repeat the process a number of times. Finally, once you've achieved a good continuous nozzle check printout, don't forget to perform a horizontal head alignment, usually found in the bottom button of the printer utilities dialog box for quality inkjet printers. Now let's move the camera back to the other position now. Let's move it back to remind you what we're talking about now. That's a bit better. Let's move it down so we can see what we're doing. Now, to remind you, this is the print head we're talking about, and we're trying to move any ink obstruction on the other side. Let's bring this head up closer to you so you can actually see what we're dealing with. And we were actually talking about the airtight seal between the cartridge gland that you see there and the actual spigot itself. And we're talking here about actually clearing this dried ink that's underneath here. Quite a few photographers have never seen the underside of an ink head, so it's quite nice to actually see. And if we get let's get this here, we can actually shift this ink that's accumulated. See that? Isn't that wonderful? We can do that, and if we so wish, we can actually put a little bit of this fluid on here. You'll actually see how this fluid makes a very good job of actually cleaning the head. And what we've just described is a method of doing this operation without the complication of actually taking this head out of the printer. So let's put this down there. Now, Canon inkjet printers. Canon printers are fitted with a removable print head, which makes access to the underside of the head much easier. You can buy this inkjet cleaner kit and use the cleaning fluid and foam pads supplied. Now that's these foam pads here, so we can soak these foam pads here. Now if this was a Canon printer, we'd simply be able to take out the head. So imagine this is a Canon head, and we'd simply wipe across. So actually cleaning a Canon ink head is a lot easier, and we can get to the external dried ink quite nicely. So that's this inkjet kit is very handy because you've got all your bits and pieces and your fluids in one area. If you fail to achieve a perfect nozzle check after a number of attempts with your Canon ink head, you may then have to buy a new print head, which is quite an easy fit for the photographer himself. Now, for large format inkjet printers, my advice is never try anything yourself without qualified advice. It's much more complicated than the printers that we see that we look at as far as desktop inkjet printing. My advice is that you should call your supplier, talk to their qualified print technician before attempting any procedure yourself, and most of the times you will have to actually call the print technician himself to attend to your printer, because if he touches the print head, he takes it out, it's very likely that if he does any maintenance to the head at all, which incidentally are very similar to these, he puts it back in, but there's quite an involved procedure for realigning the printer after a head has been replaced or has had any maintenance. Now, the general advice: if the above procedures don't work, contact your supplier for expert assistance. Modern inkjet printers have a number of components which may cause incorrect nozzle function, and a simple cure may be available with just one phone call. Now, you can email me at john@marriott.com for an appropriate service technician in your area who may be able to put things right without too much drama or expense. Inkjet printers like to be used regularly and hate being left unused. As in most things, prevention is easier than the cure, and in the case of an inkjet printer, I advise photographers to at least turn on their printers for a minute or two every 2 or 3 days. Now that will prevent what we've seen here, a build-up of dried ink underneath. Now, you don't have to turn on your computer, just let the printer go through its initial startup sequence, which spits out a tiny amount of ink through the print head, thereby keeping the head nice and moist and in good condition. Now, for those of you who leave your studio for weeks or more, simply buy a cheap mains timer switch, such as we've got here, and connect it to your printer, so that every day the printer, which has its power switch left on, comes on for a minute or two every day. When you return, you will find that your printer nozzle check is perfect and you're ready to print. Thanks very much for watching this presentation.